Hello and welcome to week 4 of the Inflammation Solution. This week we're going to be talking about oxygen intake enhancement and physical activity. Just going through what we looked at last time. The first week we looked at neuroskills and psychology, and then toxin and poison elimination. And some of you have done this exercise, some of you haven't. I really recommend doing the psychology thing. It's funny. It's one of the most important things to do, yet one that we're very resistant to doing, probably because we think it's just going to take too much time. But just give it half an hour, and you'll find how powerful this is. It's really powerful. So then the next week we had fluids, so hydration and cleansing and detoxification, and then lymphatic immune support and the immune system. I'm going to be talking more about the immune system because I need to cover more about the gut bacteria, prebiotics and probiotics. Really, we need to be consuming some of these to really enhance the gut bacteria, because ultimately your immune system surrounds the gut. And then we looked at macronutrients and micronutrients last week. So really the essence for that was we tend to be focusing so much of our attention on macros, so your protein, fats, and carbohydrates, and very little attention to micronutrients, which you do get from meat and fish and eggs, but the ones that we're lacking are the ones that we get from plant-based foods. So I really wanted to emphasize the point that we need to get way more from plant-based foods and really try and make that the majority part of our diet. And then there's, so this week is going to be oxygen intake enhancement and activity, so physical activity, moving, sports, cardio, and strength training. Last week, action steps. We talked about making over 50% of your diet raw plant-based food, and I said to eat the rainbow. This means covering lots of different colors of vegetables every day, because they all have different vitamins and minerals and enzymes, and this is one of the best ways to strengthen your immune system and fight inflammation. And one veggie juice a day, preferably, all greens. If you're going to have any fruit in it, just have little, maybe half an apple or something. Then I suggested to watch Forks Over Knives. It's a great documentary, and I'm not advocating to become a vegan. It will just really open your mind up to how powerful the plant-based diet can be to reverse all sorts of illnesses. And again, it doesn't have to be forever. So the action steps before that was talking about an immune system reboot using lime, ginger, and water. And then I also mentioned about using or making a regular routine, having your room temperature water with half lemon and adding garlic and ginger if you're feeling crazy, and maybe a bit of cayenne pepper too. And I talked about premium quality water as well in the previous week. And I've added a little extra bit in this section because I've just been to the Truth About Cancer Live Symposium in Texas, and I went to a whole presentation on water. And I've told some of you that I've got a Kangen machine, and I haven't told others because it's quite an investment. And for most, for me, it took me the best part of 2 years to decide to buy this machine, because I just thought there's no way I'm going to spend that money on water when it's free. And then I decided to buy this Kangen machine, which is reduced molecular hydrogen water, when my ex-girlfriend, in fact, was diagnosed with a condition which another friend of mine who has a Kangen machine, and she has a Kangen machine business, she actually solved this health condition for herself in 1 month after 13 years of having it and 4 years of eating clean. But in 1 month she completely sorted this condition out. And then I hear about it being powerful for cancers and anything related to inflammation, because this water is reduced molecular hydrogen. It really hydrates you at the cellular level, and it's antioxidant. It's got antioxidants in it, and it's anti-inflammatory, reduces oxidative stress, and it hydrates you, when most of the water we get from taps and even bottled water, if it's just filtered, doesn't do that. And I watched this whole presentation, and it reminded me of just how important this is. So I'm going to share just a few slides in this presentation because of the event I went to on last weekend. And then I said, so talking about cleansing once a week, if you have a vegetable juice day, just one day a week when you just drink vegetable juices. It just resets your system. You get all those micronutrients into your blood very, very quickly, flush your system through, you get everything, all your organs working. It's cool, it really works. This is a slide which I really loved in The Truth About Cancer, and this was by Dr. Cowden. This guy, one of the last presentations I saw on a Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, and he has healed people from cancer of the most metastasized cancers. When everyone would go, no, you've got to do radiotherapy, you've got to have surgery, and he's like, no, you don't need to do that at all. So he talks about health as being a bathtub, like a bathtub. So on the right, you've got all the clean water faucets, so healthy foods and nutrients, purpose and will to live, sunshine and exercise, good relationships, peace, joy and love, great attitude, restful sleep, pure water, and fresh air. And then on the left, you have dirty water faucets, so we call those taps in England, nutrient-depleted foods, electromagnetic fields, radiation pollution, toxic relationships, toxic emotions, toxic tissue acidity, heavy metals, polluted air, antibiotics, pesticides, biotoxins, hypoxia, allergens. So these are all the kind of toxins that come over one side. And when disease builds, it's like a bathtub full of dirty water, and there's a very high total load. Whereas if you can drain all this and you get the toxins out and you limit your exposure to all these toxins, you can get rid of these toxins with the bowel, the liver, the kidneys, the lymphatic system, and you can have everything balanced, providing the majority of what goes into your body is, going to fuel you rather than intoxicate you. So this is another slide from the guy that talked about this molecular hydrogen water. So oxidative stress, diseases caused and benefits. Oxidative stress is commonplace throughout almost every chronic disease, including cancer, and also ADHD, Parkinson's disease, Lafora disease, Alzheimer's, atherosclerosis, heart failure, there's tons. So it's all about oxidative stress and how it suppresses the immune system. And as we know, inflammation is also the cause of chronic disease. So inflammation is a complex biological response of body tissues to harmful stimuli such as pathogens, damaged cells, or irritants, and is a protective response involving immune cells, blood vessels, and molecular mediators. I probably don't need to explain again what it is. I just like to think of inflammation as your body's reaction to what it perceives as an attack on it. It's just your defense mechanism. So this molecular hydrogen, this water, is number one of the periodic table because it is the smallest, and it's a powerful antioxidant. It only reacts with oxidative radicals. And I'm not going to, it creates homeostasis in the body, a good thing, and stimulates ghrelin. This is your hunger hormone, and also balances leptin. So leptin is your I'm full hormone. It gives your brain the action signal to stop eating, and it helps to balance those. It has a very strong anti-inflammatory effect, and it reduces depression and anxiety. So there are 600 studies show that H2, or molecular hydrogen, to be therapeutic in over 150 human disease models and every organ in the body. It benefits athletes by lessening fatigue and recovery times. It's beneficial to joint tissues, rapidly diffuses across membranes, and it's natural, effective, and far-reaching across the whole body. So he actually gave so many studies of how molecular hydrogen helps to reverse various forms of cancer, bearing in mind it's the Truth About Cancer weekend and different types of cancer. So it's very, very powerful. I just thought I'd present one of these to you. It says in the middle, hydrogen is a potent antioxidant and exhibits anti-inflammatory and potentially anti-cancer-like activities. Hydrogen water administration improved the survival of mice with codon 26-induced cancer. Furthermore, hydrogen water enhanced cell apoptosis in cancer cells. It's very, very clever stuff. It's like miracle water. So Kangen water, the machine I have, there's also a company called Echo. Kangen water have been around for about 41 years. They mimicked these healing springs throughout the various countries around the world, like Mexico and Germany and France, I believe. they didn't just create it. They copied the properties of these these healing springs, this healing water, and it uses these titanium plates. So your water passes through 7 or 8, depending on the machine you have, and it separates the water. And there's a this is what produces the molecular hydrogen, and it also creates this alkaline water, which a lot of people talk about alkaline water as being amazing. It's not really the alkaline component that is the huge benefit to this. It's the fact that it's molecular hydrogen. The alkaline effect is like a byproduct of it, and we do need to make our bodies more alkaline, so there are certain arguments for it, but most people say the alkaline thing is not a huge part. It's the molecular hydrogen. And yeah, so this Kanga machine, they've been around for 41 years. They're medical devices in hospitals throughout Japan, and the company is growing quite quickly into America now. England, very, very slowly. I think, well, I guess we're a smaller country as well, but yeah, these are incredible machines. And when I was back for the summer, I told my parents what I'd spent on this, and before I said it, I said, make yourselves comfortable because this is going to hurt. And I told them what it would cost, and actually my mum actually guessed, but it's an investment. They're guaranteed for 20 years, and yeah, you can do payment plans and interest-free, and that's what I've done, interest-free payment plan over the next few years. So they're about, depending on the machine you get, they started around $1,500 and they go up to about $5,000, and I got one for about $4,000. So it's incredible, and I bought it because of my ex-girlfriend having this health condition, and it's amazing stuff. It's one of the most anti-inflammatory things you can have. Excuse me. So think of it like this: we have a hierarchy of fuel. There's oxygen at the high end, which is, we need oxygen. That's the first fuel we need. And then after that, it's water. And if we're drinking water from the taps, which has all these drugs in it, every single drug that goes through the human body, and antibiotics and hormone replacement therapy drugs, and all the chemicals as well, the fluoride and chlorine and stuff, we end up consuming that. And in lakes and rivers in the US and the UK, there are fish that are changing sex. Male fish are growing eggs because of all the estrogen or estrogen in the water. This is actually happening. This is one of the main reasons I bought this machine as well. I don't want those endocrine disrupting chemicals in the water that I drink. Everything that gets passed through the human body ends up being recycled into the ecosystem. And as well, there's all the pesticides and herbicides and fungicides and insecticides and all of that stuff that soaks into rivers. It gets drained into rivers and gets recycled. So it's nasty stuff. That's why I chose to make this investment, and I haven't regretted it. And the beauty about Kangen is you can actually try it for 30 days, and if you don't feel any benefit, send it back. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. It's not something I really talk about much because it's such an investment, and many people are put off by it. Again, it took me 2 years to actually take, excuse me, to take the plunge. I've just been eating nuts. And I think it takes quite a shift in mindset to understand how important it is for the water to be the purest. There are places around LA where you can actually go to a shop and you fill up a canister, like a tank, and you don't have to spend that much money on it. I just like the Kanga machines because there's lots of other stuff you can do with it too, and then I won't go into that now anyway. I can send you a video if you're interested. It's 10 minutes long. So think of it like this. We have a hierarchy of fuel, oxygen at the top, then we have water, then we have nourishing and nutrient-dense food and physical activity. So if the water you're drinking is toxic, you're actually depriving yourself of this number 2 fuel that we need to thrive. And this Kangen water, the girl that I bought this from, it's a network marketing company. In England, they're frowned upon, and here they're huge because great products use this method of marketing. So she sold about 900 machines. She healed her own endometriosis in 4 weeks, and she's had about 900 case studies of people healing all sorts of conditions related to inflammation, like cancers, diabetes, type 1, type 2. We can't really heal type 1, but you can reduce the need for insulin. It just, yeah, she has tons of case studies. So she's probably actually a better person to speak with than me, actually. Anyway, moving on. I wanted to put that in there because I thought it was such an important slide. So previous week action steps to that was getting the lymphatic system working. Remember, it doesn't work unless you're moving. So move every day, body weight exercises and cardio. Resistance training is great. If you're brand new to exercises, start with kind of gentle yoga exercises that you use this resistance training with. At least walk for 20 to 30 minutes each day. And I suggested watching Sick, Fat and Nearly Dead. I know all of you have. So great work on that. In this module, oxygen. Are you breathing enough? Are you using all of your lungs and regularly? Are you effective? Are you breathing effectively, or are you breathing ineffectively? And I'm going to be talking about the two, which are quite different. There's effective breathing versus ineffective breathing, and I'm going to be talking about that. So not breathing enough is a leading cause of disease and COPD. That's constructive. Oh, crikey! I've forgotten what it stands for. COPD, obstructive pulmonary disorder. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, that's what it stands for. And then there's physical activity. This makes you breathe. Any kind of sport or dancing or anything like that makes you breathe. We've got different types: cardio, sprints, resistance training, sports, and dancing. So oxygen intake enhancement. Sedentary lives means we have a lack of use of our lungs. Today we're living very, very sedentary lives. When we go back to our ancestral days, we were designed, millions of years ago, we would be on the move the whole time. And these days we are living very sedentary lives and sat at desks for the most part. We've all heard the term sitting is the new smoking. It really is true, and one of the main reasons for this is we don't use our lungs, and we only use the top third of our lungs and neglect the bottom two sections. So the bottom two sections contain some of the most important capillaries that oxygenate our blood, which then circulates around our body, providing fuel to our vital organs. Think of how a baby breathes. Think of that belly, how it moves up and down. The belly, it's not just the chest, it's the belly that goes up and down. So if you're not breathing fully, you're depriving your body and vital organs of a crucial fuel. It's crucial fuel. I shouldn't say a there. It's crucial fuel. Do you snore? This obstructs the oxygen flow to your body. I put this slide in there. This is Dr. Cowden again, who had the bath water or bath tap analogy. Number one cause for chronic disease at the top, he has under-oxygenation, shallow breath, fibrin in capillaries, O2 shunt, whatever that means. This is what he's put at number one. And there's another book, and I thought it was called The Art of Breathing, but I don't think it is called that. There's an author, and I was quoted this by a few years ago. The author of this very well-known book, which I can't remember right now, was if there's one thing you could change about your health, it's how you breathe. We are not breathing enough, and this is what leads to a complete lack of fuel going around our bodies. So I'm not going to read the rest of that. The rest, well, maybe I will. The rest of causes of chronic disease: acid-base imbalance, so allergies and stress, eating wrong types of food for metabolic type, hypoxia, nutrient deficiency, and metabolic poisons. Then we have insufficient nutrients at number 3, poor intake, absorption, and nutrient wasting. 4, we have inadequate sleep, relaxation, brain gain, stretching, exercise, not having enough of any of those. 5, he had disturbed cell membrane electromagnetic charge. That's talking about your phones in your pocket, for example, or against your brain. When we take phone calls, really important to use the wire, the earphones, not hold the phone against our faces, or against our ears the whole time. And turn off Wi-Fi at night. I'd heard of this, but until I'd seen all the science behind it, I wasn't really adopting it. Now I put my phone into airplane mode at night. Radiation pollution, electromagnetic and geopathic, and then there's poor messengers, hormones, and neurotransmitters, and then we have injuries like structural, which can actually lead to the breakdown of the immune system and disease. So let's go back to oxygen intake enhancement. Conditions of ineffective breathing. So we have chronic disease, though it is again COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, then we have organ failure. So the best methods to breathe fully, well, there's a few. Is to be active, of course, and there's conscious breathing, and you can do this at your desk at work, and it just means taking 10 minutes out, 5 minutes out to just really breathe consciously. Meditation. This is when you breathe consciously for 10, however long you meditate for, 10, 20 minutes. Yoga, fantastic form of fuel for your body, for combining breath work with body movements. So powerful, so powerful. I went to a class yesterday. It's not quite what I was expecting, because I like the really upbeat flow kind of yoga where you get a bit of a workout in, you raise your heart rate, you break a sweat, and you breathe a lot. This is like a little stretching exercise with lots of old people. But I thought, you know what, I just thought that's really cool, because these older people are doing this, and there's lots of people who aren't doing it, and it's such a great fuel for your body. And then there's any kind of exercise that gets your heart rate up using your lung capacity, so aerobic sprints, lifting weights, dancing, and playing sports, and making it fun. The other thing about being active is making it fun, so then you don't realize you're being active. That's the coolest thing. This is why sports, I think, you know, best things to do to make sure you breathe and get active. So ineffective breathing leads to mental fog, dizziness, numbness, anxiety, chest pain, digestive problems, irritable bowel, neck and shoulder pain. Effective breathing improves energy production. It improves your ability to think, focus, and concentrate. It eliminates toxins. It strengthens the immune system. It improves bowel function. It reduces stress, anxiety, and depression, increases feelings of calmness and relaxation. It can lower blood pressure, increases metabolism, aiding in digestion and fat burning. Ineffective breathing leads to the nervous system becoming imbalanced. So breathing effectively is so important to maintaining a balanced body. Each breath has an immediate effect on the nervous system. You can actually change your state, your psychological state, immediately by changing how you breathe, or within a few minutes. And this is a Tony Robbins thing that he brought to my attention, Just 2 or 3 minutes of breathing when you count for four in, 4 out, and you can do this finger tapping exercise where you kind of do it in stages. You go, and you do this for 4 minutes or something, and you change your psychological state immediately, and you tap your finger with your index finger and then your next finger, and you do it 4 times. It's hard to describe without me demonstrating it, but it's after 2 or 3 minutes of doing that, 3 or 4 minutes, your state is different. You don't need to reach for caffeine, and also, of course, moving around. You know, do a minute of star jumps, and you're suddenly wide awake. So imagine inhaling being fuel and exhaling ridding your body of toxins. A dysfunctional breathing habit, like a short and forced one, results in a tense body and higher levels of stress. Airways get tighter, making it harder for the air to make its way from the lungs. To compensate, we have to work harder and breathe faster to get work done. Blood vessels constrict. This leads to higher blood pressure and makes your heart work harder. Then with more ineffective breathing, less energy is produced. It reduces your body's ability to deliver oxygen to the cells. This puts us in a survival mode instead of development and growth. Muscles, oxygen shortage reduces stamina as muscles go stiff, tense, and get tired quickly. Each and every one of the processes in the body are dependent on oxygen, including these vital organs. So the brain uses 20% of the oxygen we consume. When there is a shortage, the brain works slower, and since the brain regulates other functions in the body, these too are affected. The heart, constantly active and beating around 100,000 times a day, it is a huge consumer of oxygen, and the shortage of oxygen means the heart cannot pump out blood as effectively. Bad circulation actually results in cold hands and feet, among many other things. So here's a quick description or picture of the lungs. I'm not going to go through every part of it, but the main parts to know are obviously the 2 sides, and then you have the trachea, basically the airways that go into the lungs, and you can see all these different bronchial tubes. And see all those ones at the bottom? But they're being neglected if you're not breathing using the bottom section of your lungs. So breathing in, when you inhale, your diaphragm contracts, tightens, and moves downward. The space in your chest activity increases, and your lungs expand. The intercostal muscles between your ribs also help enlarge the chest cavity. They contract to pull your rib cage both upward and outward when you inhale. As your lungs expand, air is introduced from your mouth or nose. The air travels down your windpipe into your lungs. After passing through your bronchial tubes, the air finally reaches and enters the alveoli. Through the very thin walls of your alveoli, oxygen then from the air passes to the surrounding capillaries. A red blood cell protein called hemoglobin helps move oxygen from the air sacs to the blood. So carbon dioxide moves from the capillaries into the air sacs at the same time. The gas has traveled in the bloodstream from the right side of the heart through the pulmonary artery. Oxygen-rich blood from the lungs is carried through a network of capillaries to the pulmonary vein. This vein delivers the oxygen-rich blood to the left-hand side of the heart. The left-hand side of the heart pumps blood to the rest of the body. There, the oxygen in the blood moves from blood vessels into surrounding tissues. When you exhale, your diaphragm relaxes and moves upward into the chest cavity. The intercostal muscles between the ribs also relax to reduce the space in the chest cavity. As the space in the chest cavity gets smaller, air rich in carbon dioxide is forced out of your lungs and windpipe and then out of your nose or mouth. Breathing out requires no effort from your body unless you have a lung disease or are doing physical activity. When you're physically active, your abdominal muscles contract and push your diaphragm against your lungs even more than usual. This rapidly pushes air out of your lungs. I thought I'd just read that out because it's quite an intricate process that happens when we breathe, and we kind of take it for granted. But when you understand just what happens, it's really quite miraculous. I guess the whole human body is, but it's just so incredible how this all works. So here's how to breathe. Breathe through the nose. The breath should go in and out through the nose. Your nose refines and prepares the air coming in to be used by the body as effectively as possible. It's like a filtration system. When you breathe through your mouth, the lungs get a lot of unfiltered air that is raw, cold, dry, and full of viruses and bacteria. If you feel like your nose is way too stuffy to close your mouth, that's most likely because you've been breathing through your mouth for far too long, so your nose has adapted. Usually it won't take more than a couple of days of nose breathing to open up your nostrils again. Breathe with the diaphragm. So the air you breathe in through your nose should go all the way down to your belly. You should feel your hands. You can do this sat at your desk right now. Just kind of be conscious. See where if your belly is moving as you breathe in. Your breathing muscles consist of the diaphragm and muscles in the abdomen, chest, neck, and shoulders. So 70 to 80% of the inhaling should be done by the diaphragm so that your breathing is nice and deep. This has a couple of advantages. It helps your lungs with the gas exchange, which is much more effective way down in the lungs. The diaphragm massages your liver, stomach, and intestines and gives these organs a rhythmical balance. The lymphatic system, which is important for our immune system, gets the help it needs to get rid of the waste products from the bowels. The pressure on the chest and belly is decreased so that the heart won't have to work as hard. More effective muscle workers, the wrong breathing muscles won't have to do unnecessary work. As the chest gets more relaxed, so does the neck and shoulders, and as a result, the likelihood of pain in these areas go down. Breathe relaxed. Whatever we do is better done relaxed. Since our breathing reflects our thoughts, feelings, and physical body, it means that situations that have us feeling tense also tend to tense and stressed breathing. Also lead to tense and stressed breathing. This way of breathing then leads to a lack of oxygen, which in turn makes the body and brain even more stressed. By taking control of your breathing and making it more relaxed, your body tunes in and becomes relaxed as well, which leads to a better functioning in general. When the body is relaxed, health is good, energy is high, and becomes easier to be happy and loving towards yourself and others. Breathe silently. Coughing, snoring, sniffling, and so on are suboptimal breaths in disguise. It's easy to neglect all these sounds we are making, but a breathing pattern that contains a lot of these elements is a huge strain on the body. The natural breath falls out of its rhythm and we mess up the last principle. So before we sigh or cough, we usually take a huge big breath that leads to irregular breathing. Snoring means we have to compensate and breathe faster. A lot of us breathe quickly and even loudly when we talk. All these noises and talking lead to incorrect breathing. Conscious breathing. So, conscious breathing. Be aware of how you breathe during different parts of the day. every hour or so, check your breathing, and each time it does, each time you check your breathing, make sure it's relaxed. Is it rhythmic, silent, deeply through your nose? Set an alarm once a day, and sorry, for every hour, just to check in with your breathing. Breathe through your nose. A closed mouth with the tongue placed up against the palate ensures that the breathing happens in and out of the nose. If your nose is stuffy, do a sinus rinse. Extended exhale. An extended exhale increases the relaxation and makes the inhale deeper and more rhythmical. For optimal breathing, the inhale should be around 2 to 3 seconds, and the exhale should be around 3 to 4 seconds, followed by a pause for 2 to 3 seconds. The exhale also has a positive effect on the inhale, which gets deeper. So this is conscious breathing. You also need to have a straight posture. An upright posture gives a deeper breathing where the diaphragm gets more space to work. Your thoughts and feelings are affected in a positive way, and at the same time it gets easier to breathe through the nose. So I'm realizing right now, I was slouching slightly. When you sit up straight, and this is another thing when you're meditating, you sit up really straight with a fantastic posture, your spine's in the right shape, and you breathe right down into the bottom sections of your lungs. When we just sat down in a chair and slouched on a couch, we don't use our lungs at all. So be aware of your body and how tense or relaxed it is in different situations. A relaxed body makes it easier to keep a rhythmical and relaxed breathing. I got this from selfication.com, which is all about breathing. Have a look at it. You can join the list and find out more about how to breathe effectively. So the next pillar is physical activity. We were born to move. So again, like I said earlier, our ancestors were constantly on the move. They weren't just sat down at desks behind computers and living a boxed life. I think I mentioned it towards the beginning. We live a boxed life these days. We wake up, have breakfast from a box, get in our box car, drive to work in our box, and get in our box cubicle. We work behind a box. We have lunch from a box, and then we drive home in the box, get a box meal from in the microwave, and eat dinner from the box, and then go to bed in our box room. And it's really not how we're meant to be as human beings. We're meant to be active as much as we can. And again, it doesn't mean going nuts. It just means being active. So whatever we don't move and strengthen weakens. A friend of mine, I don't know if you saw my yoga interview, a friend of mine is a yoga instructor, and she was talking how the attention you pay on your own body can actually impact the physical health of your offspring. And I didn't actually know this. It just makes total sense. Also, I have a friend who went to a Bodyworks museum. I actually went to this in Berlin last summer. But she went to one where they presented to you the corpses of 2 dead people, as this museum is all about. It's presenting to you in obviously a preserved fashion the insides of these bodies, and you can see the organs, the muscles, everything. And there, presented before you, was a person who had done yoga their whole life and a person who hadn't. And it was a phenomenal difference, because all the muscles in the person who had done yoga were nice and tight and a very, very different color. And the person who hadn't been physically active or done yoga, all the muscles were just in really poor shape. And like a really dark, nasty color, as if they'd never been used. So whatever, I've put this in the book, our muscles either grow or they shrink. There is nothing in between. They do not stay the same. We need to work our bodies. We need to constantly strengthen our bodies, because otherwise it weakens. And what people tend to do as they get older is get less and less active. And this is when you need to almost be more and more active, because that is when things start to perish very, very quickly. So we need blood pumping around our body to provide oxygen to every vital organ. We've talked about that already. Our psychology is determined by our physiology. Motion drives emotion. Different types of exercise. Let's just talk about this. Motion drives emotion. This is a psychological principle, like 101, and so not just Tony Robbins, it's across the board. It's proven to be absolutely unequivocally correct. Our psychology, the state of our psychology, is directly affected by how active we are. It's our physiology. you can actually change your state in a matter of seconds just by changing your physiology. It could be as simple as doing a power pose when you put your hands above your head or behind your head, and you sit up straight or stand up straight. You can actually increase your testosterone by 20% by going into a power pose. If you're a guy, you might not like to know this. Or you could, your physiology is how you move, your tonality in your voice, just how you gesticulate, your hands, and your body language. All of this is your physiology. And of course, when you're moving, you're getting this oxygen pumping around your brain. You're more able to think clearly. You're more able to focus and concentrate. And what are we doing most of the time we sat down? I would much rather never be sat behind my computer. I'd much rather be on the go, talking to people, and that's when my brain is wide awake. When I sit behind the computer, it shuts down. And it's how I was at university and school, and I'm one of those people that needs to be active to be able to think, much more so than others. It's just I wake up, and it's not just me, it's everyone. Just some people are more prone to it than others, or notice it more. So different types of activity. Take up an active sport. This doesn't include darts or snooker because you don't really move. Cardio, so steady-paced and high-intensity interval training. If you're a little bit older, I'd suggest not doing high-intensity training unless you get approved by your doctor. If you're younger, then sprints are a phenomenal way of keeping fit. In fact, they're better than long-distance cardiovascular training. So strength and resistance training, we all need to do this once or twice a week. Just do some kind of resistance training. It prevents osteoporosis. It strengthens every muscle in your body. It strengthens, your ligament, your musculoskeletal system, so your ligaments, your bones, your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons, your cartilages, etc. That all gets strengthened when you move your body and strengthen it. Yoga, of course, gym classes, trampoline rebounder if you're in the US. I don't know why you call it a rebounder in the US, But yeah, trampolining is fantastic. You do this for 10 minutes a day. This was, again, featured at the Truth About Cancer series. It was, and Tony Robbins does this before he goes and talks on stage. It gets your whole lymphatic system as well as wakes up your mind. It's a fantastic lymphatic drainage technology, and it's so easy to jump up and down for 10 minutes. All essential for our immune system and to keep us strong. The lymphatic system does not work without movement, remember. Your body has to be active for the lymphatic system to work. Physical activity. The higher your energy level, the more efficient your body. The more efficient your body, the better you feel, and the more you will use your talent to produce outstanding results. That's a Tony Robbins quote. It just makes total sense. It's our psychology is dependent on our physiology. Motion drives emotion. Here's a little snapshot. Here's a little snapshot of your brain while sitting quietly, and one after a 20-minute walk. Look how active the brain is after a 20-minute walk. This is actually from the University of Illinois, and yeah, this is. I mean, we all know it. I don't need to teach you to suck eggs, as we say in England. We all know that we think more clearly when we're active. This is why I work out every morning before I start to work, or at least do some kind of breathing exercising or stretching or yoga to get the mind working. If I don't do this, I have brain fog, and I think the more you do it, the more you realize what you miss if you don't do it. Benefits of exercise: it feeds the brain with oxygen from your blood. Induces creativity, ideas, and insight. This is huge. It balances and aligns your body. It increases attention, concentration, and focus. It's the #1 stress reliever and anxiety curer. Tony Schwartz, who wrote The Power of Full Engagement, said aerobic exercise or activity is the #1 method for emotional renewal, i.e. getting rid of stress. Gets you feeling positive, happier, and optimistic. It teaches you to relax. It helps you sleep well. It motivates you. It boosts your physical and emotional energy levels. It makes you smarter. It fends against aging and memory. When you age, your memory actually shrinks. You can actually prevent this happening from using your brain, for actually exercising your brain. This means getting blood around your brain. The less you get blood pumping around the brain, the faster your hippocampus shrinks. That's the part of your brain responsible for memory. And if you do nothing for it, you'll become very, very forgetful very, very quickly. Exercise slows down. Exercise slows down the shrinking of the hippocampus. It reduces the risk of stroke, reduces the risk of heart problems. Protects your immune system. It strengthens and protects your muscles, joints, and ligaments. It strengthens and protects your blood vessels and veins. Strengthens and protects your heart and lungs. Improves libido and sexual performance. Who doesn't want that? It reverses the negative effects of alcohol. Yes, there are studies that have shown when you drink, you obviously kill off brain cells. When you exercise, you can repair them and grow new ones. Last but not least, exercise, of course, makes us fitter. Cardiovascular training in the form of endurance CV is when you pick up, okay, this is different types. So CV training, cardiovascular training is in the form of endurance CV. This is when you pick an aerobic activity like that increases your heart rate, preferably for about 20 to 30 minutes. Don't go nuts, don't go crazy. It just means getting your heart rate up a little bit. This might be jogging, cycling, swimming, rowing, hiking, etc. So your heart rate increases and you work your body as it is meant to be worked. There is no need to overdo it any longer than 30 minutes, and you can actually start to release the stress hormone cortisol. You know, this is what I'm going to show you what happens when that happens. And here it is, endurance cardio versus high intensity. On the left, you have an endurance runner, a marathon runner. And as you can see, his muscle formation is terrible. He's got virtually no muscle, and this is because the longer you run, after a certain time, the more cortisol you release. It breaks down muscle tissue, it slows down the metabolism, and it creates a lot of problems in your body. So whereas a sprinter on the right-hand side, it does the opposite. It's really good for your body in short bouts, providing you're healthy enough to do this. So high-intensity interval training, it builds muscle. It increases your heart stroke volume. That's the amount of blood your heart pumps per beat. It increases your pulmonary performance. This is your lung capacity. It increases testosterone. If you're a guy, you want this. In fact, for a woman, you want this as well. HIIT increases your metabolic rate, your metabolism, so you burn fat whilst you're not working out. That's one of the main components of lifting weights as well. Whilst you don't burn that many calories doing it, the afterburn effect is tremendous. Your body goes through this damage and repair cycle, and you expend calories doing it whilst you're not doing it. So this is how you turn your body into a 24/7 fat-burning furnace. When you lift weights twice, maybe even 3 times a week, you're not, the time when you're not working out, your body is burning calories way more than as normal. So it makes you look like a man and not weak and feeble. I'll put that in for men. Strength training. So lift weights twice a week and or strength train at home to build muscle. So building muscle increases testosterone. Again, for women this is important because the more testosterone you have, you can actually burn fat more easily and gives you more energy. For a guy, testosterone is a dominant male hormone. It gives you energy. It gives you the ability to burn fat with ease. It gives you, it reduces fatigue, improves your libido, helps you build muscle. There's lots of benefits to having high levels of testosterone, and we really ought to be. And by the way, it doesn't have to shrink. It doesn't have to go down as you age. And the reason that happens is because people tend to neglect their health, and they do less and less for their health, and then they think it's normal and just old age. But I've got a friend, doctor, who's in Phoenix, and he helps guys in their 90s increase testosterone completely naturally. It's completely 100% possible. It's just a matter of how much you want to focus on your body and make it strong. So building muscle helps increase metabolism. Building muscle makes you strong. Building muscle helps you to burn fat. Building muscle makes you look good. Building muscle makes you feel good. Building muscle reveals your outer mojo. Action steps. So this is this week, just concluding this week. I've put the truth about exercise in the bonus section. If you haven't read this, have a little read. It's a very short read, and it just goes into a little bit more depth what I've talked about in this program about the benefits of exercise and how those benefits come about in your body. Make sure you move for at least 20 to 30 minutes a day. At least walk before you start your day with all distractions off. It's a very, very amazing way of starting your day when you have no distractions. Don't look at your phone when you wake up. have it in airplane mode, and just start your day in peace and breathe and think about, you know, gratitude, visualization. This is a Tony Robbins thing. You start your day with gratitude, just focusing on all the cool stuff that's happening in your life. And then you can visualize what you want to do in that day, what you want to create in that day, what kind of value you want to add to the world in that day. And, you know, it's so powerful. And we're so connected these days to our phones, to social media, to texts, and, you know, any kind of push alerts that comes through from various apps, even phone calls. You know, we're constantly reacting to other people's demands rather than focusing on what we want to do and create in the world. We're living in reactive mode most of the time, and we have to be conscious to not be in that reactive mode. It actually means going into airplane mode. It means turning off your emails, and it means, yeah, just having your own time. And it's probably one of the most powerful things you can do. So start to do yoga if you haven't done so already. There's various different forms of yoga. Like I said last night, I was in there with a load of older people, and whilst it wasn't really much of a workout for me, it was certainly good to get me breathing. And yeah, just pick the level that's right for you. Lift weights or do body weight training at least once a week, preferably twice a week. I'm going to give you access to my program, the Mojo Blueprint program. I'm afraid that I've had some technical problems with this, and I need to do this. This is one of the bonuses, but you'll have access to this forever. Look into TRX. This is one of the really cool system you can get for your home. You can put it over your door, and you can just do all these different bodyweight training exercises. They're like, I think about $100 or something, and no weights, just bodyweight exercises. Really safe way of doing these full body workouts. I've got a friend called Guy Arad who has a whole TRX program, which I can put you in touch with if you like, actually. So adopt conscious breathing throughout the day. Set your alarm and do some breathing once an hour. Watch Hungry for Change. This is your documentary viewing for this week. It's brilliant. Like all of these documentaries, it's brilliant. And it will just get you so clued up on nutrition, really well. And yeah, these documentaries are just so good. So together with what I'm teaching you, and you watch these documentaries once a week, at the end of this 6 weeks, you'll have so much knowledge. You'll have such a more conscious approach to health and nutrition, and yeah, psychology hopefully as well. Contact me at Neil@vitalitysecretbook.com with any questions you may have. Let me know if you want to learn more about this water. It's possibly the #1 most effective way to get rid of inflammation without doing anything else. I mean, obviously everything else is super important, but someone asked me at an event about a week ago, he said, give me your absolute, oh, this is on the plane on the way back from Dallas, Texas. He said, what's your absolute #1 piece of advice for getting rid of inflammation? And I really had to think for a second. I was thinking, okay, is it getting rid of wheat, dairy, physical activity? And I thought, hang on, it's water. It's water. We're already breathing. I mean, we need to breathe more. And I could say what the author said of this breathing book, which I can't remember the name of. The water, that's our life fuel. If we're drinking toxic water, we don't have a life fuel. And just knowing and understanding all these case studies that my friend Ashley told me about, it'll blow your mind how it's almost like miracle water. It's crazy. So yeah, I said the #1 thing to change would be the water. And the second thing would be, the other thing that he said to remove, I said sugar. But it was a toss-up between sugar and wheat. I've really found it hard to actually decide which one to say, because wheat these days is so inflammatory. And that's why some of you have had results after 3 to 5 days with your joint inflammation, your joint pain, just by taking out the wheat. So it was a toss-up between those two, and I actually said sugar, and I wonder if I should have said wheat. But it's if there's one thing that you can change to have like a rapid effect on your body, I'd say it's water, in combination with all the dietary changes you're making. You can't just, it has to be like a holistic, collective plan of action. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you. Let me know if you want to know more about this water. I'll put a link into a little interview I had with Ashley, who sold me this machine. It's just crazy. Thank you for listening, and send me any questions that you may have, and I look forward to speaking with each of you during our sessions this week. Have a great week.